Vraj Vihari Jai Girivaradhari Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana I always Vraj Vihari Dasa Srimad. Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Lord, we're on
verse 38.
I was told 39 and 40.
39 and 40. 39.
That's it. All right. Oh, you all have phones?
Yeah.
Shows you how old I am. You have to have it on.
Yeah, sometimes we don't get around to it.
Yeah. So let's see, how should we do this? We'll chant the first verse and then we'll chant together the second one.
Yes.
Yana Swatitam Gurava Prasadau Vipascha Vidascha Sad Anuvitai Arya Nata Surido Bhartarascha Sarvani Bhutani Bhutan Yana Su Yaiva. For some reason I have trouble reading the italics. It's, you know, I can read regularly, so without my reading glasses. Okay, so what's the meter for this? And no. Okay, you sing, you chant, you go ahead.
Yana Sutatam Tapayetarisha Niradha Sankalam Adabram Apsu Sarvam Taritat Purusasya Bhuno Vrini Mahite Parito Sanaya.
That was beautiful. I forgot to start though. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
I'd like to chant the second line, the second verse, verse 40. 40. Sarvam Tareta Purusha
Yanna Sutaptam Tapayetadisha
Yannastu taptam tapayetadisha
Niradasam Kalamata Brahmapsu
Nirandasam kalam hata paramapshu
Tat Purushasya Bhuno
Sarvam tadetat purushasya bhumno
Nihete Paritoshanaya
Vinimahete paritosanaya.
Okay, is that anyone else?
Anyone from Zoom?
What's that?
No, from Zoom also.
They chant on Zoom?
Yeah.
Really? But not on Teams, only on Zoom? Well, let's continue. When is class, how long is class?
8:30.
Oh, so a long class.
Oh, like 8:20 and then 10 minutes question answer.
Sometimes I ask for questions in the middle, so be prepared, including so we can hear the people online?
Yes.
Really? High Tech Temple. Okay, so yat means what, and na means by us. Who's speaking? You don't know who's speaking. Who's speaking and who are they speaking to?
Speaking to the project.
No.
Lord.
No, this is the project speaking with the Lord.
Yes, very good. It's the Pracheta speaking to the Lord. Okay, so that's important. And they've been speaking for a few verses now. Maybe that's why you got caught by that question, because it's been a few verses. Really beautiful prayers. I think it's, wait a second, am I right? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Swadhita means studied, and Gurava means superior persons, spiritual masters. Good word today since we're celebrating the Yasa Puja, His Holiness Shakataka Maharaj. Prasadita means satisfied. Vipra means the brahmanas. Cha means and. Vridha, those who are elderly. Okay. Cha means and Sat Anu Vritya means by our gentle behavior. Arya, which is going to be discussed a lot in the purport. Those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge. So the word Arya is repeated again and again in the purport. Nata means we're offered obeisances, and Surida means friends, right? Like Surida Sarvabhutan. Yeah. Krishna is a friend of every living entity. Bratara means brothers. Cha also. Sarvani, all. Bhutani, what does that Bhutani mean?
Living.
Yes, living entities. Anasuyaya, without envy. That's another very important. Can anyone think of another place that non-enviousness is spoken in the Bhagavatam?
1.2.
Yes, thank you. Yes. How does it go? Dharma, Pojita, that one, right? Nirmatsaranam. Yeah. So here it's Anasuyaya. Eva means certainly, Yat means what? Na, of us. Sutaptam, severe. And what's severe? Tapaha, penance. So they perform these, I can't even imagine sitting in water for 10,000 years. Imagine what that does to your skin. I tell you, right? You go swimming for a half hour. It must be very different. It was a different yuga. Etat means this. Isa, the Lord. Isho Kanisha. Nirandasam, without taking any food. Can you imagine that? Who was saying no? Paka Bengali, he has to eat this much rice every day. Kalam, means time. So there's a lot of words in this in the verses that we're familiar with, right? It's like kala. Adabram means for a long duration. Apsu, within the water, so they were in the water for a long duration. Sarvam, all, tat that, etat this, and Puru Shashya, of the Supreme Personality of God, like Purusha. Bhumna means the most exalted. Certain words I should have brought my reading glasses. Virmi Mahe means we want the benediction, Te of you, Purito Sanaya, for the satisfaction. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada's translation and his purport. Dear Lord, we have studied the Vedas, accepted a spiritual master, and offered respects to Brahmanas, advanced devotees, and aged personalities who are spiritually very advanced. So they respected the Vedas, Guru, Brahmanas, other advanced devotees, elderly people, and spiritually advanced people. We have offered our respects to them, and we have not been envious of any brother, friends, or anyone else. That's nice, isn't it? Right? And earlier, Lord Vishnu, said he was so pleased with them because they got along with each other. I should give a class on conflict resolution, but that wasn't the plan. We have also undergone severe austerities within the water and have not taken food for a long time. All these spiritual assets of ours are simply offered for your satisfaction. That's a key point that comes up in the purport. They didn't just, because we can sometimes do austerity, like Hiranyakashipu did big time austerities, but it wasn't for the satisfaction of the Lord. We pray for this benediction only and nothing else. So what is the benediction? That they simply want to please Krishna or Lord Vishnu. The Prachaitas are impressive people, impressive devotees. Purport. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Sansiddhir Hari Tosanam. The real perfection of life is pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. Vedaishya Sayavaya Aham Eva Vedya. In understanding the Vedas, one has to understand the Supreme Personality of God. So we again, people can study Sanskrit. Prabhupada would sometimes say there's so many Sanskrit scholars loitering in the streets. He said. So the study of Sanskrit even is to understand Krishna. One who has actually understood him surrenders unto him after many, many births. Anyone know that verse that Prabhupada is referring to?
Brahmanath Brahmite Kon Bhagavan Jivas.
The phone speaks. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one from Chaitanya Charita, yes. And what was yours was the one I was thinking, but can you say it a little louder? So I think that's the one Prabhupada is paraphrasing here, right? One who has actually understood him surrenders unto him after many, many births. Okay, very good. We find all these qualifications in the Prachaitas. They underwent severe austerities and penances within the water, and they did not take food for a very long time. I wonder how long it was. It doesn't say here. I don't think it was 10,000. If it was for the whole time they would perform austerities, that would really be it. But it says for a very long time. They practice these austerities, this is one of the key sentences. They practice these austerities not for material benediction, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain that. So what comes to your mind when you think of severe austerities for the pleasure of Krishna? What are some examples of severe austerities you can do for Krishna's pleasure? Let's say in our lives. What was that?
Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution, okay. Yeah. True. What else?
Fasting, chanting.
Fasting? Okay, fasting for Krishna's pleasure. Chanting, yeah. For some of us, if we today is a 64 round day. Like, oh, really? Okay, I might go to the temple in Melbourne today or something like that or whatever. Yeah. How about taking an old church and converting it into a new temple? Isn't that? I'm sure there was a lot of austerities performed here. Some of them probably very severe. Anxiety, I'm sure. Yes. And then, so the next sentence, Prabhupada so kindly puts it into our context because, we might think, well, do I have to go stand underwater or not eat? Where is it? One may engage in any business, material or spiritual, but the purpose should be the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of God. So that's an inspiring sentence for those of us who have jobs outside in the world, right? One may engage in any business, material or spiritual, but the purpose should be for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of God. So it seems, obviously both are spiritual if you're doing it for Krishna's pleasure, right? But Prabhupada's still making this distinction. So I can't, predicate Prabhupada's mind here, but when we think of spiritual, we often think of like Panch Anga Bhakti, right? The 5 most potent items of devotional service and nectar devotion. 59 items of bhakti are explained, and then 5 are repeated again. Just for emphasis. So, what are those 5? Can you name one?
Shravan.
Yeah, Bhagavad Shravana is okay. See, hearing about Krishna, reading the Shastra. Kirtan, good idea. Yeah, chanting Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Association.
Association, yes, the association with devotees, which is interesting. It's very similar to Bhagavad Shravana because you generally are taught to hear in the association of devotees. Okay, we have 3, 2 more.
Living in Mathura.
Living in Mathura or visiting a holy place like where we are right now. Right? Yes. Okay, there's one left.
Deity worship.
Oh, we have a scholar here that speaks to the phone. Yes, deity worship. Yeah, worship being a deity. So that Panchanga Bhakti, or sometimes they're called Swarup Siddhi Bhakti. In other words, what Swarup Siddhi Bhakti means, an activity that we do here that we'd also do when we go to the spiritual world. It's strictly spiritual, right? So those 5 are like that. Then there's called Aropya Siddhi Bhakti, which is maybe what Prabhupada's referring to here. Again, I don't want to predicate his mind, but it's doing things in this world and finding a connection with Krishna. Let's say we have a job that we're taking care of our family and their devotees, or we're also giving some contribution to the temple. So we're the word Prabhupada would often use is dovetailing. And here in the sentence, Srila Prabhupada is saying that one may engage in any business, material or spiritual, but the purpose should be the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of God. So that should be the purpose. Hari, some Siddhi or Hari Tosan, pleasing Krishna. There is a different. Aropya Siddhi Bhakti is very nice, but there is a special potency in those 5 most potent items of bhakti. So we should make sure that we do as many of those as we can, as often as we can, because they have that direct Shakti. Yeah, so I think what I explained is clear enough. Is that clear? Any questions or comments or thoughts on these points so far? I think it's a very important sentence, especially to just, talk to our devotees in our congregation. 95% of them have to go to work on a daily basis, right? But they can connect it to Krishna. That's really, because you often get these questions, Smartavya Satata. I often get this question if you give a class saying Smartavya Satatam Vishnu, be Smartavya Najatuchit, that the goal of sadhana bhakti is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And then someone raises it, I'm an IT professional. How can I always remember Krishna when I'm, writing code? or something like that. So here at least we can dovetail it and do it for the satisfaction of Krishna. Even if it's hard to remember, Shishi or Nitai as we're, absorbed in whatever we do, what an IT professional does, or a surgeon or something like that. Yeah. Did you have someone have their hand up? No. Oh yeah, yes.
So sometimes the devotees will get a little bit, I guess it becomes somewhat unclear where the distinction between austerity and austerity specifically between Krishna.
Yeah.
So
I wish I had that problem. I don't do any austerities.
yeah, so sometimes there's this idea maybe that austerity in and of itself is a very noble and righteous thing for everybody to do. But if it's not connected with Krishna, what's the point? So, for example, Kartik time comes along, and it's a trend that everyone takes on all kinds of additional vratas.
No sweets.
Yeah, it's usually no sweets, or I'll do something related to my physical eating or something like that. And it's kind of like, I guess how can make it really clear to make a distinction between something that's actually favorable to their devotional service and their bhakti versus just
Well, it's a subtle distinction actually, because when you perform austerities, even not so much thinking about Krishna, it can help us get off the bodily concept of life. You just notice, my gosh, I can live without sweets, or I can cut down on this or that. My favorite Kartik Vrat that Vraj Prabhu once took was, I'm going to not criticize any devotees for a whole month. He said he lasted like 10 minutes. that was his humility, I think. But that's like now talk about austerity, right? And then we hear about austerities in the Bhagavad Gita. Austerities in the mind, austerities in the body, etc. But austerities, the problem with austerities without connecting to Krishna is they can make us hard-hearted. Right? Even in the some commentaries on the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it talks about how austerities and varnashram are not part of bhakti. They can help in bhakti. Prabhupada talked about varnashram a lot, but they're not in and of themselves bhakti. This is mentioned, I think, in the 14th chapter of Nectar Devotion, and it's a key point. But if we just like here, being an IT specialist, you can connect it to Krishna, so you can connect austerity. So austerities, yeah, they're good in and of themselves for getting off the bodily concept of life, but it can make us hard-hearted, also proud. We're going to read in a few minutes about how a Aryan is not, I can't really find the word right now, but not proud, basically, right? So we can be, we can really, like I can remember when I was a young brahmachari, and this is kind of the way things were in the 70s, we kind of thought the goal of life was to remain brahmachari. I mean, obviously, if somebody asked us, we'd probably say, well, the goal of life is to love Krishna, but that would be very theoretical in the back of our mind. But we really thought the goal of life is to remain a brahmachari. So that was a misunderstanding of you could say it might be helpful, but certainly it's good to do us. So it's sometimes, it's also mentioned in the Nectar about, it's nice to give up something for Krishna's pleasure, something that we find generally pleasurable. So like, for example, sweets in Kartik. I really like my sweets, but Krishna committed to this in Kartik. For your pleasure, just give up certain things. But like today's Ekadasi. So some people will do Nirjala Ekadasi. Did you remember Dadu, the person who delivered the mail? Yeah.
He used to get angry if the lights were left
What would he do?
on. He would get angry if anybody left the lights on.
Oh yeah. So he did Nirjala Ekadasi every Ekadasi. elderly man, Bengali gentleman. And he would also walk everywhere, whether it was cold or super hot in Vrindavan without shoes on. And I say, Dadu, I'll buy you some shoes. Everyone called him Dadu. I'll buy you some shoes. He said, Radharani took my shoes. What can I say? That was his thing. And he would come to our house every Dwadasi, and my wife would make him grilled cheese sandwiches to break his ekadasi. He loved that. Right? But he would do it, and after a while, the other thing interesting about it, I'm going to answer your question because your question was the most important about bhakti. But it is interesting that when you perform some austerities, at first they seem really hard, but they get easier. I can remember there was a time when I don't think I did Nirjal, I think I drank water. But at the first 2 or 3 times, it was really tough. After that, it became really easy. The body it's amazing what the body can get used to. And that is an interesting realization one can get about, I'm not this body, and I don't have to necessarily pamper to it all the time. You can get used to performing certain austerities. But as Janardhan Prabhu was hinting at, we're devotees. We're not tapasvis. We're not yogis. We're bhakti yogis. And so we really want to connect everything that we're doing to Krishna. And therefore that if we consider tapasya not in and of itself spiritual, we should make sure that the purpose is to satisfy the personality of God. And like I said, you can really get puffed up when you do some austerity. So therefore it's said that when you take a vrat, like Kartik vrat, you shouldn't tell anyone about it. It's between you and Krishna. Right? Because it can be, what are you doing? Well, I did this, I did that. Yeah. What are some good Kartik vrats to take connected to Krishna, to pleasing Krishna? Or we have Purushottam Mas coming up soon. So there's again, it wasn't a big thing in Prabhupada's time, but now it's become a huge thing. And what can we do for Purushottam Mas? The month, I think it starts in mid-May this year. Any ideas?
Chant more.
Yeah, chant. That's a great one. Chant more. Yeah, and don't tell anyone that you're doing it. Yeah.
More reading.
More reading. Yeah, and more hearing about Krishna. Yeah. It's great. You can even say, I'm choosing this book and I'm going to read it cover to cover, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
Service, increase service if possible.
Increase service? Yep. Come to the temple here, and I'm sure there's tons of service to do. Yeah. So get some ideas, and the idea is to make a plan. Try not to today's the first day of Kartik. What are we gonna do? No, you can actually spend a day or two before Purushottam Mas that's coming up, and think, okay, what can I do? What's practical also? Because when are gyms or gymnasiums the most busy in Brisbane? Early January, right? And by March they're empty, right? So we don't want to be that kind of the first 3 days of Kartik or Purushottam Mas, and then that's forget about it, because we have a laundry list of vrats we're going to take, right? It's better to make it just small, but actually perform them. Also, you get self-confidence if you actually take a vow and you keep it, right?
Smart vrats.
Smart vrats, yes. Yeah. Not smarta vrats, but smart ones, yes. Yeah. It's just like that's how I learned that verse. Smarta vyasa tatam Vishnu. If you're smart, you'll remember Vishnu. That was perfect. Yeah. Okay, so carry on. Is that satisfying? This verse presents a perfect picture of Vedic civilization. People training to become devotees should be respectful not only to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also to those who are elderly, But it says here elderly in knowledge, so I don't know if that one. And here's and who are Aryans and actual devotees of the Lord. So we should be respectful to everyone. You know, there's even something called jana aparad, where you commit offenses just to the general public. So but especially those who are dear to the Lord, we want to be careful. And it's nice to be respectful to elderly people, especially those that have knowledge. You know, as I get older, you know, and let's say, you know, my son has he started something called TSI, the Sangha Initiative. It's for youth 15 to 30, primarily in the US. And, you know, for the first many years ago, because it's been going on for 10 or 15 years, 12 years now. And in the beginning, he sometimes asked me to speak to them. And he said, now, Pita, you're not so relevant. You don't really know what's going on in their lives. And I went, oh, God. You know? So it's sometimes nice for elderly people to think they're still relevant in life. So, yeah. Because, you know, things do change, you know. Yeah, I don't know how to use computers like a 10-year-old does, for example. Yeah. Okay, so then we go into more about Aryans. And Aryan is one who does not boast. That was that I was looking. And Aryan is one who does not boast, but is an actual devotee of the Lord. Aryan means advanced. Now we all, I'm sure we're familiar, we know this. We have to be very careful with the use of that word. Why? I can't hear you. You're all mumbling. I have to speak loudly. Yes, the Nazis. Yes, and the swastika. They do it a little differently than we do, but there's many temples in the West where a person walks in and sees the swastika, they walk out as fast as they can. So, but yes, Aryan. He mistook it because Prabhupada says here Aryan means advanced, and he took it means Germanic people, white people, especially, and he, you know, twisted it all around. So we do have to be a little careful when we, use that in here in a place like Australia, and even the swastika. We have to be a little careful. If you see some Western people, there's a fire yagi and there's a swastika. Explain what it is, because we talked about assumptions yesterday. Assume that they're freaking out, that they're very concerned, because they don't know the difference between a sideways one and a straight one. They just, or is it also backwards? So be careful about that. Formally, those who claim to be Aryans, so formally, Prabhupada's not talking about World War II. He's talking about way from thousands of years ago. Formerly, those who claimed to be Aryans had to be devotees of the Lord. Okay. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita 2:2, Krishna chastised Arjuna by saying that he was speaking like a non-Aryan. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Kutatstam Kasmalamidam Vishame Samupasyatam. Anarya Justum. Anarya, not Arya, not an Aryan. Anarya Justum Asvargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. The Supreme Person, Bhagavan said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life, Arya. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. End quote. Arjuna, the Kshatriya, was refusing to fight despite being directly ordered by the Supreme Lord. He was thus chastised by the Lord as belonging to a non-Aryan family. Anyone who is advanced in devotional service of the Lord certainly knows his duty. Everyone, you all know your duty? Sometimes it's not easy to know what our duty is. Like the example, for those of you here last night, I'm struggling with that a bit right now. Is my duty to stop working and just focus on hearing and chanting? Is my duty to continue for a little bit longer? So sometimes it's not always easy to know our duty. We know our duty is to please Krishna, and that's what Prabhupada is kind of hinting at here. But exactly what our duty is, in the Vedic times, it was a lot easier. You know, you were a Kshatriya, bas, right? And things were a lot clearer. Here, you know, we tend to be a Khitri, right? I'll give a class, that's a Brahminical thing. And then I'll do some management, that's a little bit more Kshatriya. And then I'll, you know, go to work and make some money, Vaishya, and then I'll take out the garbage, and that's Sudra. So we do it all. But hopefully we do all four of those for Krishna's pleasure. Right? It does not matter whether his duty is violent or non-violent. If it is sanctioned and ordered by the Supreme Lord, it must be performed. So again, we have to be a little careful about, you know, how we preach that to the public. You know, because what would a public, we just say, I do whatever God wants me to do. Right? And we have people, you know, preaching and speaking to new people, they might say that could be, you know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of terrible things that have happened in the world by people who said that sentence. Isn't it? Right? In the name of God, the wars started in the name of God, beheading people. The name of God. So just, you know, we accept what Prabhupada is saying here. We get the instruction from spiritual master and Krishna. Yet even we can use our discretion sometimes if it's really like we're not comfortable with, but especially when talking to others. It might not be the first thing we tell people. That makes sense. You know, just like the ninth offense against the holy name. What is the ninth offense? Yes, to instruct the faith. So that means we careful about what we instruct people, right? We don't go up to them and immediately start telling them about Rasa Lila, you know, and right, and things like that. Intimate Vrindavan pastimes. No, we choose what we talk to people about. Okay, an Aryan performs his duty. It is not that the Aryans are unnecessarily inimical to living entities. Okay, important. So, and then Prabhupada defines what that means. And it's interesting considering the store right next to us. An Aryan never maintains slaughterhouses. And they are never enemies of poor animals. So, interesting how that in one sense, you go, where did that come from? You know, wasn't in the verse. Well, I guess it was about taking food, but anyway, Prabhupada sometimes, you know, he just couldn't. It hurt him so much to see, you know, cows just being mercifully slaughtered. The Prachetas underwent severe austerities for many, many years, even within the water. Accepting austerities and penances is the avowed business of those interested in advanced civilization. Okay. The word nirantasam means without food. Now listen to this sentence. Eating voraciously and unnecessarily is not the business of an Arya. Let's talk about prasadam for a minute. So again, you know, I think the question came up yesterday. Well, how do you know some people just quote their favorite parts of Prabhupada's quotes and not others? So there's different quotes. Prabhupada would say for a person first coming to Krishna consciousness, they should eat up to their neck. I don't know if Prabhupada actually said it, but people quote Prabhupada, they should like waddle out of the temple. They had so much. Because it's so purifying. Right? And so it's great. Yes, you know, Sunday feast, eat as much as you can. You know, yeah, in Washington, D.C., my wife allows people to eat as much as they can. They just shouldn't bring like a truck with them and haul the rest of it off, you know, make sure there's enough for everyone. But at the same time, you know, as we become more interested in bhakti, and especially as we get older bodies, you know, eating voraciously is not a great idea. We were just giving class in the farm, and the verse Prabhupada quoted the Ayurvedic suggestion, right? Does anyone know that 50% is what?
Water.
No, food.
Sorry, 50% water.
25% water and 25%
Yes.
air, right? You know. And so it was interesting, Prabhupada quoting like something from Ayurveda in the Bhagavatam purport, right? So, eating voraciously and unnecessarily is not the business of an Aryan. Rather, the eating process should be restricted as far as possible. As far as possible is a key word, right? Because in one sense, you know, prasadam is practically our only sense gratification as devotees, right? So, it's just, Krishna consciousness and how to apply it. It takes some subtleties and understandings and to know that this is there for that, but sometimes the best thing at the end of the day is just you've been through hell at work or with this or that, and just take some shelter of prasadam. It's not the end of the world. It's prasadam, and at the same time, for sadhakas, we do want to eat what we need to eat, take prasadam as we need to. Prabhupada would also say that if you work all day, if you work like an elephant, you can eat like an elephant. He said that, right? But if you're sitting behind a computer all day, it may not be a great idea to eat so much because it's going to be bad for our health. So, it depends. The key thing is really for devotees, the key is how we take prasadam. Right? We call it honoring prasadam, right? Because you know what it's like. We start studying out of Vrindavan, we start salivating. Or I had when we did traveling sankirtan years ago, a devotee said, "Started off before you all. Now I'm going to eat it all." In other words, he just wanted to get. Or somebody says, "Started out of Vrindavan, they want to get through the prayer quickly and get to the real business of woofing, But really, when you think about it, how old are you? 19. Okay. So let's say you're 20 and you live till 80. So that's 60 more years. Multiply that by 365 and multiply. Do you take 3 meals a day? Okay. It's 365 times 3. I don't know what that is, a huge number. And that's all the opportunities that you have. Someone do a real general idea of 60 years times 365 times 3? Ballpark figure?
65,700. 65,700.
So Prabhuji has 65,700 opportunities to do a devotional activity called eating. Right? And often, at least I can speak for myself, I'm not very Krishna conscious when I'm eating. I'm just, enjoying the near supper or whatever it is, right? But it's an opportunity. It's that we do every single day to do it for Krishna, as Prabhupada is saying in this purport. Right? So what does it mean to be devotional when you're taking prasadam? What are your thoughts? When have you been really in a devotional mindset when you're honoring prasadam?
Just hearing about Krishna.
Hearing about Krishna, okay, playing the Prabhupada okay.
Sometimes I think about the devotees who prepared it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. The devotees, that's beautiful. Think about the devotees who prepared it. In one purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the best kind of prasadam is you put the seeds in with devotion, you water with devotion, you weed with devotion, you harvest with devotion, you transport with devotion, you cut with devotion, you cook with devotion, you offer with devotion, and you serve with devotion, and you eat with devotion. But at least you got some of them there with the devotees. Other things that
Krishna is prasadam.
Krishna is prasadam. So you're eating Krishna? Yeah, prasadam means mercy. So it is a form of Krishna in the form of mercy. Yes. Okay. Very good. So you're thinking of how this is prasadam. This is Krishna's mercy. Anything else? When are you in really good consciousness when you're eating? Come on, we do it every day.
I heard that it is also done in the mode of service.
Yes. Prasadam seva.
It's the same.
It's a seva. Yeah, it's a seva. It's a seva. And also we can slow down a bit. I took prasadam with Giriraj Swami recently. My plate was empty and he was still working on it, But yes, if we're talking about Ayurveda, what do they say? Chew 32 times, right? Or I was once at a naturopath place in Bangalore, and it said, drink your solids and chew your liquids. Your stomach does not have teeth. So even from a healthy point of view, it's good to kind of slow down and honor prasadam. So it's an opportunity. Here we are. It's an opportunity to be Krishna conscious in something that we do every single day. Well, maybe some of you don't do today on Ekadasi, but we do almost every day. It's a real golden opportunity in that sense. Okay. When Aryans eat, they eat only prescribed edibles. So we should, it's great to take a vow only to eat prasadam. And sometimes it's tricky. Prabhupada also said that you can also offer something in your mind. If you're in a place like, a train station, sometimes Prabhupada would eat the pakoras, not pakoras, samosas. Or I don't know if anyone ever has to sometimes go out to a restaurant for work. I sometimes have to do that. So I just order salad with olive oil generally. And just, I don't go down in the middle of the restaurant, Namo Vishnu Padaya, like that. And also in the perfection of yoga, Prabhupada said you can offer food by saying Sarira Avijajana. It's actually there in the perfection of yoga, the book that he wrote. So, time and place. But it's great if we could take a vow to only eat prasad. Regarding this, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. What's the next line? Yome Bhakya Prayachati Taraham Bhakti Paritam. I accept it. How many times is the word bhakti in that verse? Oh, I already gave it away. Twice. It's interesting, right? It's twice in that verse. So also how we offer prasadam. Right? It's great, and it's challenging sometimes for householders because we want to kind of cook for Krishna's pleasure, but we do choose foodstuffs that we know our family will eat. I remember going to this very nice devotee. He's actually an initiating spiritual master now, and he had 3 children, and his wife. I think they're from Madhya Pradesh originally, but his wife is a great cook, and I would go there and say, "This is fantastic. I'm going to get great meals." The children wanted, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They didn't want all this great Indian cuisine for something. So she had to kind of offer that quickly, and so it's again, household life is sometimes a challenge. So Prabhupada translates it: if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Thus, there are restrictions for the advanced Aryans. Although the Lord himself can eat anything and everything, he restricts himself to vegetables, fruits, milk, and so on. This verse thus describes the activities of those who claim to be Aryans. I should have done this a lot earlier, but Om Jnana Tmadandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So the essence of this purport is like Tadbudayas, Taratmanas, Tadnishtas, Taparayana, do as much as possible everything for Krishna's pleasure. Janardha Prabhu brought it up in terms of austerities, and in terms of our jobs, in terms of honoring prasadam, in terms of being non-violent. Just we try to do everything for Krishna's pleasure, and that is the essence of bhakti, because Krishna Bhuli Seji Anadhya Brahman, we turn our back on Krishna and we do things for looking out for number one for ourselves or our extended number ones, but to really do things with bhakti, to really consciously do whatever we're doing. One great instruction I got from Vraj Vihari Dasa many years ago, which has helped me so much in Krishna consciousness. He told me that, he said, it's not easy, but if you can at every moment think, what is my service? Because we're servants, right? Jivera Swarupai, Krishnera Nitya. das. We're servants. So to think in any given moment, what would be pleasing to Krishna? What is my service to Krishna? Let's say devotees are being critical. What's my service in being with them? Should I try to, maybe I'll distract them and talk to them about something else. Maybe it's just time for me to leave that place. But we can think, what's my service? And when prasadam is put in front of us, what's my service? When I'm, talking to a nice devotee, how can I serve this devotee? Right? So it's a great question to ask. Right? Well, as often as possible, just in whatever situation the Lord's put me in, what's my service? And that can really put us into, at one time a devotee wrote this very beautiful poem. And at the end of each stanza, it says, please let me become your devotee. And Prabhupada appreciated the poem, but he made one correction. He said, better to say, please let me become your servant. He said, devotee is very high thing, but think of us as a servant. So, it's so nice, that verse, Jivera Swarup. What does Swarup mean? One way to translate it is essence, right? Like the essence of sugar is what? Sweet, right? Or I like spicy things. So the essence of a chili is to be hot. It's not hot, it's not really chili. So our essence, who we actually are at the core, is Krishna Das. It's Krishna's servant. So try it for a day. As much as you can, think, okay, in this situation, what's my service? I find it's really helped me so often, so much over the years. Just that simple instruction. Okay, so we have 6 minutes. Questions, comments, thoughts, corrections, chastisements. Yeah, by the way, silence is really powerful. And usually, we want to fill up silence with something, but even in conflict resolution, or even in sales, they tell you when you make a pitch, okay, final offer, $1,500. Then the salesperson is told, zip it, and just wait for the person to say something. So finally, almost always somebody raise their hand eventually, even if just out of kindness to me. They think I'm suffering. Yes, Srimad.
So just austerity. So we do austerity. I'm just trying to think about that connection. If someone becomes pious,
Pious?
Yeah, piety, they do all the nice things, as for the rituals, and go through that. Going through the rituals and maintain all the rituals, and then doing the austerity. Is that something that someone can go, I want to take austerity and get something out of it, but then also going through that ritualistic path and then become a pious person?
Well, yeah. Sukritina, right? What's the word? Does anyone know Bhagavad Gita shloka with the word Sukritina?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good one. That wasn't what I was saying, but yeah. So I was saying Chatur Vidha Bhajante Mam. Oh, what's the next line? Jana Sukritin Arjuna. And then what are the Sukritinas, the pious people? Arto, Jigyata, Artharti, Gyani, right? And so the Artha and the Artharti, one is asking for wealth and one is asking for freedom from distress. So it's not the highest, but Krishna says it is Sukritina. And then the next verse he says, who are Duskritinas, bad guys, right? It also says that the Arto and the Artharti have to at least become Jigyasu, curious, inquisitive. Otherwise, what they do is they go to Krishna, they want some wealth, they get some wealth, and then they say to Krishna, "Thank you very much. Don't call us, we'll call you," and they get on with their life, so to speak, right? So So doing austerities and penances and things for some other motive than serving Krishna, you could say in one sense it's better than nothing because you're accepting that there's a higher power, right? The atheist just thinks it's all by my own muscle, but at least you're accepting a higher power. Right? And then so karma kanda has that benefit actually. So it's so nice that Krishna is not, Krishna gives different levels, like in the 12th chapter of the Gita, right? Okay, just remember me, be a pure devotee, forget it, right? If you can't do that, then do sadhana bhakti. If you can't do that, then do this. So he True to Karma Prabhu once gave a really nice seminar on the different levels of God realization in the Bhagavad Gita. But we also know the ultimate, what Krishna ultimately prescribes. So people who are doing things for other motives, okay, it's nice that we can talk to them and say, well, if you really want to be happy, include Krishna in this, do it for his satisfaction. It's hard because, in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, well, if you do those kind of things, you get quick results, right? And sometimes in bhakti, the results come a little slower because Krishna also is purifying our heart. Yeah. So, but I think we all know, any of us who have ever done anything with an ulterior motive, you don't feel that satisfaction in your heart. If you're doing it for profit, adoration, distinction, it's hard. It's hard to not give a class and think, oh, I hope the devotees really think that was a really nice class, right? Instead of just thinking, here, I'm a servant. What's my service? It's not easy. Yeah. And then there's great souls who, how hard is it to have 80,000, whatever, 70,000 disciples, all telling you you're, the best thing in the world, and then to remain humble. Right? And just in a service attitude, I can't even imagine that. 2 people tell me that was a good class, and all of a sudden I think I'm God. Yeah. So we have a great fortune today to honor such a glorious person who has surrendered through. I mean, I was there when he had his stroke in Mumbai. And what he went through and what he goes through, I would have thrown in the towel, just unplug everything and let me. And he's just an example of performing austerities for Krishna's pleasure. Oh, okay. I just look at the watch, but is it okay to take? Yeah.
How can we explain that doing certain severe austerities are pleasing to Krishna? Like, for example, in severe fasting, or like for devotees, we understand that it's pleasing to Krishna, but how can we explain that to you?
Well, first of all, one thing I wanted to mention that we have our four regulated principles, which most of this is sufficient austerity, by the way. We don't have to go searching for like the coolest, latest austerity. No. I was with one Swami once in 1987 in Vrindavan, and he had connected with a Brijbasi, and the Brijbasi had convinced him that just eating one plantain and some chops, some buttermilk every day for what the Kartikas. It was like, Maharaj. Our severe austerities are sharing Krishna consciousness. Right, going out on Harinam or book distribution. That's, for me, that's very austere. Or cooking for Krishna for you guys it means in December when it's hot out, right? Or taking, of course, it never gets cold in Brisbane, really cold. But Prabhupada would say taking bath in the winter. So those are all austerities. You have to take bath in order to do service, right? You have to cook for Krishna. We're not going to say, Krishna, it's too hot today to cook for you. So I don't know if we have, but your question was how to explain it to others?
To others, yeah. Like how would they understand that why would Krishna be happy seeing you performing those austerities?
Well, I have the same question. Why would Krishna be happy? Again, it goes back to Janardhan Prabhu's point. He's not thrilled necessarily. I can't, predicate his mind, let's speak of Prabhupada's, but it has to be done as a offering to Krishna. And so, there are examples of people doing really dumb austerities in the Bhagavatam, right? So, being austere in and of itself is not necessarily Krishna conscious. It has to be done with bhakti. Yeah. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakala ashanta. You can do mukti, bhukti no, but mukti siddhi, kami ashanta. And then Krishna bhakti nishkam ate, but a devotee is. So the real thing is bhakti. So we should be careful if we're, especially if we're doing severe austerities and we're kind of hoping a few people notice. Right? Yeah. Okay. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai. Jai.
There's a meeting program. Yeah.